Hello, everybody out there. Welcome to the closing on Friday, November 17th, 2017, powered by Sportsbookreview.com. Your host tonight, Donnie Drew. Just a few minutes, we'll bring in the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Drew Martin at Drew Martin Bets on Twitter. We'll have some fun tonight, folks. Chat box is going to be yours tonight. We'll go over whatever you want to go over, NCAA football, NFL football. There's a couple games tonight, Middle Tennessee State, Western Kentucky, and UNLV and New Mexico. We'll certainly hit on both of those. Not that much college basketball on the card tonight, should I say, that I will be looking at on the card tonight, and also NBA action. We'll stick to mostly a football Fridays, typically right through football season. We'll have a lot of fun doing that. Also today, it is confirmed, folks. Yes, it is actually confirmed. Matthew Holt will be on with us about midway through the show. He does have the link ready to go. We'll pop in and see where some of that money is going back and forth. A little bit of house cleaning here for us, folks. Again, SBRodds.com. Get those late line movements, a complete free service at SBRodds.com. Give us a follow on Twitter at SBR Sports Picks and also YouTube. You're watching it right now. You jump in the chat box, hit the subscribe button, hit the alerts in there every single time we go live here on the channel. You can jump in the chat box, come in and say hello. Drew Martin, welcome into the closing line, brother.
Donnie, thanks for having me. Nice little intro there. This is Friday, the last closing line. Kind of a sad day here, but
closing line. Yeah, this is it. It's fantastic, man.
Yeah, man. But we got two college football games. College football slate tomorrow, which doesn't have the big marquee games, so to speak, but some good matchups, especially ATS wise that I like anyway. Some interesting travel spots I'm sure we'll get into, and yeah, we got to hit up Matty Holt. What are those? What is it? 702 49ers? Is he still putting out lines on those games? We got to hit him up.
No, there's no. I think they're unlineable now. They've been knocked out. There's restructuring. Maybe somebody's going to buy new ownership of the 702 49ers. Maybe some new players brought in via free agency. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, but we got the chat box. Yeah, let's hit the chat box hard. I felt like earlier today on right side of campus, you guys didn't hit the chat box hard enough, man.
No, we're trying to ignore those people out there. Like, what do we need anybody in the chat box for? I mean, come on.
Dude, I saw Big Man. He was talking about Temple basketball. They were playing Auburn. I was talking a little shit, and he just ignored me, dude. I kind of felt left out.
Yeah, here's the thing that you want to do with the big man next time you get in the chat box, Drew. Like, you'll hear him break down, let's just say, the Temple game today, and then 5 minutes later say, Big Man, did you hit the Temple game yet? And just keep doing that. It's a lot of fun. It's actually a lot of fun. Yeah.
All right. I'll keep that in mind. I'll get on him.
No, we'll have some fun tonight. Again, chat box, wherever you guys want to go, whatever you guys want to get through, we'll certainly go over it there. College football card, I've been harping on it all week. I have one play tomorrow that I sent out for my players. It's the only, again, Drew, last week's card was so much fun to sit back and watch and let it unfold. Big time matchups. And then you have this 1 week, which I get a good chuckle out of every year because it seems like everybody has the same setup because you end the football season typically with a rivalry game. Like if you're in high school, last game of the year, Thanksgiving game, it's usually against your rivals. And it looks like everybody takes that deep breath this week and says, all right, let's just play some random-ass team out here, and we're going to come out and see what happens. The Alabama Mercers. We're waiting for the Iron Bowl. Like, what? Just have a bye. Like, don't play Mercer. Don't play UL Lafayette or whoever Auburn is playing. We all want to see the Iron Bowl. We know how important it is. We all want to see Georgia Tech, Georgia, that little rivalry that they're going to have that's going to decide a lot, maybe the fate of Georgia, if they should be able to pull that football game out. But it's the same thing everywhere for us. Not that excited on this card, but there are some games to go over. And I think the key word of the week, Drew, is going to be wind and weather, the two W's in this one, because a lot of these games, Drew, are going to get impacted.
Yeah, multiple games with 20-mile-an-hour winds. I know Texas Tech was one of them. And by the way, TCU's quarterback, Kenny Hill, I don't think he made the trip. So they're going with a freshman quarterback. Something to keep in mind with the heavy winds. I think it's like 25-mile-an-hour winds. You bring up ULM Auburn. I don't know, man. I kind of like ULM. Definitely like the over. I don't see a lot of ULM stops defensively. So I think Auburn could get 50 plus. ULM could knock in a touchdown or two or three to knock that thing up and over 68. So you bring up a couple games, but yeah, we'll get into them. And then we can't forget Miami, Virginia, man. I like UVA plus 18. How do you feel about that one?
I do like that game. I didn't play it. I don't know if I want to, but it's just one of those feel situations where I think Miami comes a little bit back down to earth. And the reason why I think that, Drew, is because I'm waiting for like a steady passer in the pocket, which has given Miami problems in the past, even earlier this year, that can move the football up and down the field. These runners, like I like to say, a read option quarterback, Miami's just burying these guys. If you can't really efficiently throw the football downfield and make your reads, Miami's going to bury you because their front seven's going to come after you and say, all right, you want to run read read option will bury the quarterback and the running back at the same time. But you have to have that play action in there. You have to have a quarterback that can hurt them. We'll see if Virginia's quarterback can do that, a much more accomplished passer than what Miami has seen the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I like it. Banker, you're right. The 2 games before, Virginia Tech and Notre Dame, the teams might be better, but the quarterbacks were not better passers. Yeah. And defensively, Donnie, one thing that I've noticed is, Rosier's not the type of quarterback that's kind of like really well polished. I think he's good. I think he has a high ceiling, but going up against Virginia's defense, keep in mind, it's a little bit different style of defense that they play there. Kind of the 3-4 setup that I don't think he's seen a lot this year. So it could confuse him as well. He's not a very experienced quarterback, but so 2 things there that I think are in UVA's favor. And also keep in mind, it's not going to be the electric atmosphere we've seen the last 2 weeks either. It's going to be definitely a drop off as in terms of that go. All pointing me towards the Virginia side.
Yeah, I do. The 12 o'clock start is big there. But the interesting thing there, Drew, a couple of days ago, they only had 1,000 tickets left over for this Miami UVA game. So there will be 65,000 people in the stands for this game to try to keep that excitement up. But you're right. We're not asking they came in 2 various forms. They were a underdog early in the week to Virginia Tech. They swung over to the favorite later. They were an underdog, a decided underdog, from the public standpoint as well last week versus Notre Dame, and rolled them. Now you're going to be, as opposed to hunted, back to the hunter's role. And you're right. It's a noon start. It's not 8 o'clock. It's not electric. It's not Phil Collins playing in the background. I can feel it coming in the air. It's going to be a noon kickoff there. How much do you have? Everything's in front of you for Miami. Squeak by with the 1-point win versus Virginia. Squeak by with the 1-point win versus Pitt. Squeak by with the 1-point win versus Clemson. You're in the Final Four. You're in the playoffs. And I think they know that at this point. They don't need style points. And I'd just like to see how they come out in this one, but maybe a little bit more efficient offense, which Virginia doesn't say much. It's not like Virginia's coming to town, Drew, and they're, world beaters knocking off everything in their sight. They haven't been playing good football, and they are already bowl eligible. So it's not like we really got to get down to Miami and see if we can win this football game. We'll see what happens in that one, but I am leaning towards the points, and it has come down a little bit. I saw some 20s out there early in the week, now down to the 19, 18 and a half, stuff like that there for us.
Yeah, for sure. In UVA, they have some good wins, don't forget they went out to Boise, beat Boise State. Also, Duke, North Carolina, and Georgia Tech. That was kind of a surprising game. Yep. And Donnie, you bring up the, and Miami has the short turnaround. I think they have a Friday night game at Pitt. So that could, later in the game, I guess, affect how who's playing in the game for Miami. But also wanted to throw out something with that attendance. I can't tell you. Growing up in South Florida, going to Marlins games, and they would post, 25,000 people at the game. And dude, there'd be like 5,000 people there. So you got to watch out with these South Florida attendance numbers they throw out and tickets sold. So it will be interested to see how those South Florida fans, for a day game, a big drop off in atmosphere, but some definitely take notice of.
Yeah, senior day out there. It's going to be the last team to see the hometown squad because is the ACC title game back in Charlotte this year, Drew? I haven't even actually checked on that.
I hope not, man. They need to do it. They need to do it at the home field of the better team or the better record, in my opinion.
I don't know if they should. That would be a little bit harsh for the road team coming in, though, don't you think? Like Miami had to go to Clemson to play the SEC or ACC title game. That would be rough. I like the bowl atmosphere of that because you have both teams coming in. It's not a decided, home field advantage. Gives it a little more even keel out there. And I saw some early lines posted on that too. And I don't have it on my Bet Online account or my local. Miami getting 6.5 from Clemson. I'll take that right now. Give me Miami plus 6.5 with Clemson. Surprised it was that high.
Yeah, I do that too. But Donnie, the game in Charlotte, is it going to be like sold out and everything? I guess if it's Clemson, it likely will. But I
don't know. I don't think the ACC game has ever been sold out. You're talking about a big NFL stadium, 70,000. And, hey, Miami's going to be a good football team. Will people be excited? But we're not talking about Miami packing that place with 35,000, tickets sold in that. And, for the past couple that I've watched, it's been pretty empty. Outside of like the SEC title game and sometimes in that Pac-12 title game, Big Ten does get a nice turnout as well. But the ACC, if you're going to have Miami in there in the past couple of years, the Dukes of the world or whoever's making it in, that's not a major draw. They've been struggling to draw there. But it should be a good game, though. If you're going to have Clemson, Miami, you should have a really good crowd there.
Yeah, that's why I think it should be at the home field because then it would be a packed atmosphere. It'd be a cool atmosphere. But you're right, it would be a disadvantage. But the Pac-12 and the ACC, especially because there's so much distance in between the schools, to compare it to the SEC, where there's probably 7-8 schools within like a 5-hour drive of Atlanta. It's not really fair, to apples comparison.
Yeah, no, and I would agree with you for this year alone, because obviously Miami would be the host of the ACC title game, so that would add added interest there as well. But yeah, it should be a good one there. I think it's in Charlotte. Maybe somebody in the chat box going to know where that's at. But it's when you say, oh, ACC title game, yeah, it's in Charlotte. I get it. They want to split it between not put it in South Florida and not obviously put it in Boston or Gillette Stadium. You want to be right in the middle where it's still decent weather and fan bases technically can get to. But when you say, ooh, man, we're going to Charlotte, doesn't have that same ring like the SEC title game in Atlanta does, where it's a big party atmosphere, sold out months in advance, and you don't even actually know who's in that football game. So should be decent on that. But I agree with you there on the Miami game. Should be a good one there. Let's see what else we got in college football here that we can review. Why don't we hit the games tonight, and then we'll peruse over the card. We broke down some of these with the earlier on the right side of campus. I don't like either one of these football games. I would lean towards the over, again, in the Middle Tennessee State game. That was at 56.5. Now BetOnline showing 57.5. So looks like some people are siding with the over in this one. Middle Tennessee State, stock still coming back from quarterback. If you're taking, notes or stock on Middle Tennessee State over the first, 8 games, 7 games of the season, just throw those numbers out the window, because the whole team revolves around the quarterback stock still, who's very good, who's back and healthy, and has looked decent the past 2 weeks. Western Kentucky, you know what you're getting out of them. I mean, they're going to be throwing the football all over the football field. They're the home team tonight. They're actually the underdog now, Drew, opening up at 2, sitting at 1.5, pretty much across the board. I really don't like a side per se in this one. I just would lean on points, because Western Kentucky is going to throw the ball. Stockstill is a very good quarterback, and these games just aren't meant to stay under. I can easily see this number getting into the mid-60s here.
Yeah, I heard you say that on the right side when I was watching the right side of campus, and I kind of take the other side, Donnie, I'll tell you, because neither of these two teams, and especially MTSU, since Stockstill's been back, their tempo is kind of slowed. They're not, that up-tempo team like they were in the beginning of the year. So they're kind of going a little bit more conservative, if you've noticed, like watching their games. He's not taking like the 7-step drops and throwing the ball downfield. Also, what the wide receiver, what's his name, Richie James, he's out as well. So playmaking ability for MTSU isn't what it used to be in the beginning of the season. It kind of makes me want to lean towards the under, but I haven't bet it, man. Western Kentucky is kind of a mess, I guess. Quarterback wise, Mike Whitey's good, but just this year compared to last year, it's a huge drop off. Obviously, coaching. I agree with you, man. I don't have too much on this game. I guess I would go with the under. So I guess I'd take the other side just because of the tempo. But you do bring up a good point. Western Kentucky throws the ball a lot, so the clock would be stopping a lot more. So I kind of agree with you.
Yeah, if I play devil's advocate with you, Drew, to try to build a case, if you're looking at Middle Tennessee State, the one thing that you want out of Middle Tennessee State is you need them to be pressed. And what I mean by that is you want them to get down on the football game, and maybe the other team can score a little bit of points, because Stockstill's been back. But take a look at the games he's been back against. I mean, UTEP, who struggles like getting off the bus, like forget about playing football, like just like, travel plans. Like they struggle getting to the game. They struggle getting off. They probably don't even know how to put on, how like you be a freshman in high school, or sophomore, and new kids just trying out for the football team. Like they have no idea where their pads go. That's UTEP overall as a football program. Forget about them on the field. They're just a mess all over. And then you're going to go with Charlotte, who again, never pressed them at all. Not very good on offense. I want to see them take a punch in the mouth with Stockstill quarterback. Like let's see Western Kentucky, Drew, get the football and go right down the field, 7 plays, 3.5 minutes, bang, 7-0. Like, all right, you know what? We got to start playing that tempo that we saw in the past years where they were unstoppable on offense. The last 2 teams haven't been able to press them. I think Western Kentucky might get them. I don't even want to say shootout, because that's probably irrelevant in 57 points. I don't think it's going to be a shootout. Both teams do have decent defenses here, but just playing that devil's advocate with you, Drew, with the last 2 teams where you're saying like, dude, if we kick a field goal, we're probably winning this football game. I think it'll be a little bit different in this one here.
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't feel strongly either way, to tell you the truth. When I first looked at it, I kind of leaned towards the under, but yeah, I'm not betting it, man.
Yeah, and we take a look at the second game here, 9:30, 3:19, 3:20, UNLV versus New Mexico. I look at this game and I just want to laugh. Like, what happened to UNLV? Like, I watch them, playing, bad football team against San Jose State, blow them out. You say, you know what? They got a really good wide receiver. They got a really good running back and a talented read option kid who's fast and can throw the football. And I don't know where it all went. And got really weird, as I like to say, late in the season when you saw the BYU game. BYU, who stinks, came to town with like a 3rd-string quarterback, and all of a sudden they were the play, and they went out there and dismantled UNLV. Now UNLV playing New Mexico seems to not do anything right. And now they're sitting as favorites here. 46% of the tickets coming in on New Mexico in this one. Line opened up at 2, now sitting at 2.5. And you just want to scratch your head because kid's supposed to play for UNLV. Devontae Boyd's going to play. The running back's going to play. Like, am I missing something here? Because New Mexico hasn't been that good at all over the past 5 weeks, Drew.
No, and what's up with their quarterback situation? They're not playing what's his face, number 13, the older kid that's pretty fast. They're playing like another quarterback that comes in, and I don't know. I don't really know what's going on.
Who are you talking about, UNLV?
No, for New Mexico. Have you noticed?
Jordan should be playing. I see that the other kid is actually out tonight, so I don't even think the backup's even going to be an option. I think they're going to go back to Jordan. But yeah, like last year, looking at Gibson, Jordan, McQuarters. I mean, they had a really, really, really good running game last year. And again, it's that's one of those option teams that I love. Like, you know what? They have a real advantage when they play teams getting ready, but it just hasn't clicked. I mean, they've been shut out 3 points, 7 points, 14 points. Not a good football team.
No, New Mexico, I'm definitely not looking to bet. I don't think they're very good at all this year offensively. Like that type of offense that they run, if the timing's not good, which it hasn't been, it just gets shut down. I just didn't know what they were doing with the quarterback position, because I think that kid Jordan's pretty good. And I saw that they were taking him out and putting another kid in. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Because the other kid couldn't throw the ball very well. But I'll tell you, UNLV, I'd bet them a couple times. I think that they can't step up in class well at all. See, when you look at like the better upfront teams like SDSU, they just kind of roll over them. And I guess BYU, not that they're a step up in class, but maybe just athletically up front, it just gets to them for some reason. But I don't think New Mexico has that ability. So it makes me look towards UNLV. I like their quarterback play. I don't care if it's the more athletic kid or the Stanton kid. I think both are pretty good quarterbacks. So I look towards the Rebels in this one. Yeah, that's the way I would bet it, Donnie. I mean, are you looking to bet this game?
No. I think both these again, the moniker of the week for me is just awful football, like awful football. And these two games are going to feed right into it. I don't really have, like, there's no interest for me or see like a clear side, like, oh man, like I can really see that. Like you flip it over to Saturday, we'll get into some of those cards. Interesting game here, Drew, that I like to look at, 327, 328. It's going to be Georgia Tech and Duke. The only reason why I bring it up last week because I was actually on Duke versus Army last week. And Daniel Jones was just atrocious. Maybe that's probably the best word to use for his play this year also. Atrocious. And I'm talking about, when you go against Army as a defense, you're still a Division I football player, Duke. You're not high powered. Maybe you're not, Clemson's wide receivers, but they have good enough skill position where you can attack Army down the field. And this was one of those games where Army would bring like one extra pass rusher and he would sit back in the pocket and have no idea a guy was running free or after 5 seconds and just smash him in the pocket, sack, fumble, intercept. I couldn't even understand half the time what he plays with because you should be able to move the football versus Army. You get an extra week to prepare. Army does its normal 15-play drives, rams it right down your throat. Now you're going to get a more up-tempo, better offense in Georgia Tech in that same fashion. The line has now dipped up to 7, which is interesting because everything, fiber in my bone, I said, I want to take Duke this week. You had a week off. You got ready for a read option. You have another read option coming to town. You're at home, and you're getting 7. I'm not even asking you to win the football game where they were a small favorite last week versus Army. Now you're getting a touchdown, and I just go back and say I watched Daniel Jones. I was like, man, kid stinks. Kid stinks.
Yeah, Donnie, I actually look at this game. I agree with you, but I look at this game from a totals perspective. I think it sets up well for Duke defensively, having the bye week, then playing Army. Now the similar offense in Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech, on the other hand, like what you were just saying, I mean, in tempo-wise, David Cutcliffe, he's really slowed it down on offense. The last 3 games, the Blue Devils have only averaged 63 plays per game. That's bottom 15 in all FBS. We know Georgia Tech doesn't run tempo. They're averaging only 68 plays per game. So that play clock is going to be running. The game clock's going to be running with it. So I really like this under, man. At 47, I bet it personally. That's how I'm betting this game.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see it. The only thing I'm worried about is I know with Army's, the Phillip Rivers, offense of college football, where it seems like they can never break anything. They don't throw a pass, and they're really happy just saying, you know what, 1st down and 10, boom, 4 yards. 2nd down and 6, boom, 7 yards. Next play, 3 yards. Next play, 4 yards, just moving the football. But Georgia Tech can break it on there. Obviously, a lot more talent on Georgia Tech's offense running the triple option than you would see at Army. So should be an interesting one, but I can't lie. I mean, I like it at 7. Like CG Technology sitting at -7 right now. for Georgia Tech, I would lean Duke taking the 7. But after what I saw last week against that, you should be ready. You have like 3 weeks to get ready for this football game, technically, with Georgia Tech and the read option. Like, you should be keyed on. Duke's supposed to be good enough on defense to slow it down. We'll see what happens. But if I did get the 7 or I bet it, I would lean towards the 7. Don't love it just because of what I saw out of Duke last week. I thought they should have been much more prepared in this one. A lot of wind, a lot of rain out there. Not that bad in that Georgia Tech Duke football game, but if we're looking at some games, heading up the Big Ten country, 337, 338, Minnesota and Northwestern, that looks to have a weather impact in that one. Line sitting at Northwestern -7.5 CG Technologies, but pretty much -7 across the board. Low over under a 40.5 in college football. What do you think about this one, Drew?
Donnie, I haven't been involved much in the Big Ten. I'll tell you this. You brought up the weather. Sports Insights has a great piece on it. I know Dave Malinsky for Point Blank linked to it. So if you go to SBR Sports Picks and read Point Blank, there's a link to what I'm talking about. And it pretty much puts down on paper all the games this weekend where wind is going to be an issue over 10 miles an hour. And this one is one of them. I believe it's like around 17 to 20 miles an hour here in Northwestern's outside of Chicago, right? So
just outside of Chicago.
Yeah, so it makes me look towards the under. I mean, it's already been hit. 6.5 points towards the under, open 47, now 40.5. To tell you the truth, I don't know much about these teams to really get involved from a side perspective, Donnie, but I do like this under even still at 40.5.
Yeah, I've never been impressed with Northwestern. I don't like Thorson as a quarterback, sort of a sloggy offense. But at the same time, you look at Minnesota, they're ground built. They want to run read option. They want to keep it on the ground. They don't have that great of defense, but they did have a nice showing. I think it was last week. Did they play? It was Nebraska last week, shelled them. But then again, everybody shells that Nebraska defense. So should be interesting. But from one team that doesn't really like to throw it around a ton, being Minnesota, maybe that wind and that rain or whatever's going to impact that football game might help them out a little bit. Another game, a bigger game. This was actually at noon, which is surprising as well. Miami, Virginia at noon. This one also at noon, 4:15, 4:16. Michigan and Wisconsin, another low over-under, Drew. 39 at CG Technology, 40 at Bet Online. Line sitting pretty much, opened up at 10, almost a double-digit number in most places. Now sitting about 7.5, depending where you're shopping at. The one thing that really sticks out, Drew, in this football game, if you looked at both of these teams the way they play, Wisconsin's obviously playing really good football, but you look at the laundry list on both sides of major injuries. Like, Wisconsin has, arguably the best defense in the country. It seems like they lose like an All-American linebacker every week and never skip a beat. Maybe one of these games that'll catch up to them. Michigan coming to town. I can't stand Michigan's offense. I hear people say out there also like, oh, Michigan's quarterback giving him a bump. What does he throw, like 13 passes a game? I mean, I just don't. I've watched their football games. I don't see any bump out there. I just think they're playing overall better game. I don't think the quarterback's actually really helping that much. We'll see what takes place in here. But until I see, Drew, it's supposed to be maybe some snow, maybe some rain, cold and windy conditions. Until somebody can line up and stop Wisconsin when they say, we're going to run the football, we're going to tell you we're running the football, I'm even going to call the play for you out here, and you can't stop the young freshman there, Taylor, for him. Until they do that, I'm just going to continue to ride that Wisconsin bandwagon.
Okay, so you're seeing them just run the clock, control the game as far as time frame goes. I could see that as well. It makes me look towards the under again. I mean, it's like an under machine this with all the weather issues. Big Ten country. This one's also at 40.5. Interesting there. It makes me think not points are going to be at a premium. I don't like Michigan, but getting the 7.5, which you can get here, pretty much it's not hard to find. I mean, Bet Online has a 7.5 right now. It makes me look towards Michigan side, but you're right. I mean, I just have no interest. I don't think they're talented enough. And Wisconsin, I could see just overbarreling them. So I lean towards the under. I guess catch it at 40.5 right now at 5 dimes. But yeah, I'm not involved in this one either.
Yeah, I mean, both. I mean, look at Wisconsin. Like, it doesn't look so easy. Like you're saying, let me get this straight. Like Michigan plays good defense. They're a good football team. You look at Wisconsin, so banged up also. Your top 2 wide receivers are out in this football game. Like, you would figure, like, in bad weather, Michigan can just say, we're going to play 8 in the box, and we're going to, we know you have a good running game, but we have a good defense, and just shut it down. Like, why is that line 7.5 at this point? That's the only thing that I'm looking at, saying you got bad weather, so points will be at a premium. It's a low over-under. And Wisconsin, I get they're a top-ranked team in the country, but every week they lose key player after key player after key player. And the thing that I always joke about Hornibrook is, 2 things happen on him: a completed pass or an interception for a touchdown going the other way. If they can keep the turnovers down, but I just think it looks too easy. Like, I know people are lining up to take Michigan right now, and that line now sitting at 7.5. 7.5 still looks too easy. Like, hey, damn, I'll take Michigan with a touchdown that weather. That's what it looks like to me, which leads me to try to build a case for Wisconsin and say this young kid might just obliterate this team like a bowling ball.
Yeah, I could see that happen. And both defenses are top 15, right?
Yeah, no, but they're both unbelievable defenses. Like, they're really, really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I see the under, and that makes me also look towards 7 in the hook with Michigan, man.
Yeah, it does. It looks like it would be an easy one, you know. And again, we're getting that, like, some of these games, like UCLA, USC used to be a good football game. Now we look at it, 71 over under. You know UCLA's MO out here. We don't stop anybody on defense. We'll try to sling it around with a really good quarterback. Jim Mora, you know, it's another one of those failed like NFL guys going back to college, which always makes me laugh. Another counterpoint, like John Gruden to Tennessee. Like, his old ass West Coast offense from the 90s is somehow going to play well in the SEC. I laugh at that one as well. I laugh at Lovie Smith, like, going back, like he's supposed to instill like a really good football team. Like, Illinois is just a trash can team. These NFL guys retreads coming back doesn't make sense. And this is another one more. It just hasn't worked out. He probably should get fired at the end of the year. USC should roll over UCLA. I mean, it's almost to the point where you say, you know what, just hand it over to Ronald Jones, and he might get 400 yards in this game, Drew.
Yeah, the way recruiting is so important in college football, I don't know why teams or colleges do this. Get like retread NFL guys. Lovie Smith's another one at Illinois. You need the young guy that's going to go out and recruit kids. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, for this game, I mean, I kind of think the back door could be open though, Donnie. As far as, you know, UCLA is going to be slinging it around, are they not? They kind of got nothing to lose. So having Rosen back there, just you know, slinging it around, I could see that back door being open. That's the only thing keeping me off the Trojans.
Yeah, now we'll see about that too, because again, anytime you have a pro level quarterback, I mean, what's he going to go top 5 next year? He should be able to throw it around, and especially you think you should man up, right, Drew? Man up. At UCLA, USC, you should be able to man up and be like, you know what? It's about pride out here, and I'm really going to sling it around and throw it. I know I'm going to be, in a matter of months, a first-round pick. I just don't want to get hurt, but sometimes you just got to man up and play well. I know everybody gets on like, oh, you know, he's a soft guy or something like that, which brings me to another point, Drew, which I laugh about college football, and I laugh about injury reports. If you remember dating back to the Washington game that they played earlier, they got run by Washington in that football game. But Rosen left the game early, right? Mm-hmm. Leaves the game, and you see him on the sideline like taping up his finger. So, you know, Jim Mora puts out that he had a finger injury for that football game, right? So then it comes out and everybody's questioning, like, you telling me you left a Washington game because your boo-boo on your finger hurt? Well, it turns out he had a concussion there, but he lets him get bashed all week as being a soft quarterback. Why don't you just come out and say, dude, he had a concussion. That's why he was out for the football game. And nobody would question that. Like, nobody would. But the fact you let it linger, like he had a boo-boo on his finger and he sat out the football game, like his impact, like his credibility took such a hit, and they had to come out. Well, by the way, he had a concussion in that game. Oh, nice to know. Very nice to know.
Yeah, but what an asshole. You got to stand up for your players, man.
Yeah. Like, wouldn't you even make it up like, dude, you don't understand. He broke his leg. You know, he didn't break his leg. Like, damn, he's tough as hell.
he has a bruised knee, but he broke his leg.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, man. Let's make something up there. Halfway through the program here, dipping in. It is Friday, folks. It's Matt Holt from CG Technologies. Give him a follow on Twitter at Matthew Holt VP. Matt, welcome into the show, my friend.
Donnie Drew, how's it going, fellas?
What's up,
Look,
man?
We're hanging out like we're best friends on Google Hangouts. This is what best friends do on Friday nights.
There you go.
Now, a lot to go over here for the week, and I'm glad we had to catch you up on here. To me, the college football card, not that overall excited with, but I know we are gamblers. There is some money to be made and money going elsewhere. Taking a look at the card for tomorrow, Matt, what are we looking at? Maybe some sides that, you know, piqued your interest here, getting some money on or some sharp action. Give us a couple games we can look at tomorrow.
Let me run them down liability order for you. Liability number 1 to the book as of right now, 413 Texas A&M. And this is a little bit of a surprise. So this week, more than any other week in college football, the wind is liable to play havoc here. We're seeing major wind issues all over the country. So what we've seen is a tend to fade passing teams this weekend. Texas A&M throws the ball plenty here, so I'm a little bit surprised about the amount of action coming in on Texas A&M, but they are a huge liability. Not surprisingly, the Army, Black Knights, all they do is cover every single week for the bettors. Not surprising to see Army on this list. People tend to do what's working, and what's working is just betting on Army each and every Saturday. Not surprising, Michigan number 3, LSU number 4, playing against the Tennessee team a lot of people think gave up. Texas Tech number 5, that one's probably due to the injury to Kenny Hill at TCU. We always see plenty of action anytime a major quarterback injury to a Power 5 program like TCU. Rice at number 6, a little bit of a surprise, catching action there against Old Dominion. And number 7, Georgia Tech.
Interesting there. Now, Matt, I want to ask you a couple questions because this is one of those weekends where you're finally seeing some weather impacts a lot in college football. A lot of these games having, a majority of them, it seems like, having weather conditions over like 15, 20 miles an hour. You're getting some rain, even some snow in some areas here. Are you seeing any sharp action, any downplay on that, or are people still hanging around just, saying, hey, these two teams are typically up-tempo, I'm just going to take an over? Any instances out there?
So I think the two games that it's affect most, they just didn't have a lot of public handle to give us enough liability to maybe completely drive the number into our liability list. But Purdue in that game there, Purdue wants to throw the ball a ton. Iowa's a ground and pound team anyway. 2 days ago, or not even 2 days ago, 24 hours ago, Purdue was on our top 5 liability list. Since all these win reports have become more and more mainstream, what we've seen is a lot of sharp action coming in on the ground and pound team, Iowa Hawkeyes here against Purdue. Northwestern against Minnesota, same thing. Northwestern in the top 23, I think, in terms of teams that throw the ball the most. All of a sudden, they're taking on a Minnesota team that runs the ball in the top 20 amounts of time in the country. So a lot of action for the underdog there with the Minnesota Gophers and their ground attack against the passing team in Northwestern. Because not only is there going to be wins in Northwestern, I think that's one of the stadiums where they expected to see those crosswinds really bad. And those crosswinds are what really kills you. So those are a couple of the games that I think might be affected most by the wind. But to your point, look, it's all over the country this weekend.
Interesting stuff there. Drew, hit the chat box. Got a couple questions out there that we can ask Matt?
Yeah, Matt. A couple guys are chiming in. A guy named Young Jeezy. He's saying, how much psychological analysis of public betting go into sports betting lines?
So what I would rather call it than psychological analysis, because I'm not trying to figure out the psyche of each of these bettors. I don't know. I don't want to know what they do alone. I don't want to know if they're crazy. Is what we like to call bettors behavioral patterns of our bettor. For instance, we know that this is a Lakers city. We know it's a Dodger city. The Vegas Golden Knights are overpriced in Vegas every single day because they're a brand new team and they're on fire. So there's a big part of that. Look, we start with algorithms and power ratings like everybody else. But of course, from the bookmaking side, we have to use what we call anticipatory action as a major component when building a number, because we have to say, okay, look, the Lakers maybe should be +5 tonight, but this is a Lakers town. If we send out more than +3, we are going to get nothing but one-sided. And it's not just regional based either. It just has to do with public perception, public betting pattern. People bet the Dallas Cowboys every week normally when Ezekiel Elliott's in, the New England Patriots. So anticipatory action, a major portion of what we do when trying to formulate betting lines. Here's a really good example of the anticipatory action. And I don't mean to cut you off, Drew, but here's a really good example of it. This Thursday game from yesterday night, we do Super Bowl style prop sheets on all the NFL isolated games. And the over-under field goals made prop, it's 3.5 every single game. So me and my guys went through and we went, okay, Tennessee and Pittsburgh, both in the top 5 in field goals attempted per game and field goals made a game. They attempt over 5.5 a game. They make 4.7 a game between the two, yet everyone's used to seeing this line at 3.5. So we put the line out at 3.5, juiced it over -160, but people are so used to seeing that 3.5 with an under juice that we got a ton of under action at plus money. Of course, it skyrocketed over. The stats said it should have skyrocketed over, and we made a bunch of money on that prop.
Does that happen a lot, Matt, as far as you guys going in and making your own number like that, as compared to maybe looking at other books and seeing what they have and just maybe shading it, 5 or 10 cents towards the over, if that's how you feel?
Look, I would be lying to you if I said that every single number that we made is unique, and any bookmaker that tells you that they do is lying to you. So what happens is there's certain markets. If you're a big book, whether it's here, whether it's international, if you're a big book, there's always going to be some markets that you open that are unique. So in the prop sense here, like nobody else in Las Vegas offers over-under field goals made. So we're kind of out on an island. We have to trust our own number. But if it's an NFL Monday Night Football side, Patriots -7, you're going to be within a half a point of market period. If it's a Major League Baseball, Sunday Night Baseball, Yankees versus Red Sox money line, you're going to be within a a certain number threshold of the market period, because if you're not, you're going to go ahead and get scalped back into the market anyway. So you might as well just be market. So look, I think everyone, whoever opens it, whether it's us, whether it's BOL, whether it's Chris, whoever opens a market, you know, as long as they're reputable, people tend to follow along a little bit, or you put your own numbers out. But once that market has time to settle, everybody tends to stay within market. It's those numbers that you put up uniquely, you know, props, extra totals on MMA events. It's those things that you have up that a bunch of other people don't, that you really have to be sound on your numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I bet as a bookmaker, it would keep you up at night just worrying about people pounding you for that.
I have my share of sleepless nights, yes. Plenty of nights in the medicine cabinet.
Hey, and Matt, you bring up that, you know, certain teams get bet more in Las Vegas. And I'm pretty sure I've heard you say in the past that the late night slate, you know, when people are down, they want to make it back up. If they're up, they want more action. So like the 10 o'clock slate this weekend, it's mostly small schools. We do have the Utah-Washington game. But would you see maybe in Nevada, San Diego State, would San Diego State take more money going into this? So would you want to be shading towards, instead of 16 and a half, maybe put it at 17, or is there more Nevada people coming in? Would this be a situation where that would happen, being in Las Vegas?
I don't know about the Nevada San Diego State game, because Utah Washington is basically being played at the same time, but I can almost guarantee you right now that Utah Washington, who aren't in the top 5 or 10 in most popular wagering teams here in Las Vegas, that game will be in the top 5 games that most handle this week, just for the reason you said. And it's not just the guys chasing a bad day or the guys trying to finish off a good day. It's the parlay players. It's the teaser players. You walk in, you want to do a 5-teamer. Okay, I picked a 9 a.m. and a 12 p.m. and a 3:30 and the 5:30 game. And what do I have late? Okay, it's Utah, Washington. So many parlays and teasers include that late game.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And we also, I guess, have a couple guys asking what your best bet on the board is.
I actually like Georgia Tech this week. So look, I actually lost with Duke last week. I bet on Army all season long and made a bunch of money with them. But last week felt like a flat spot for Army and a big up spot for Duke. If they were going to make a bowl game, they had to win last week. Army had already cinched a bowl game, committed to the Armed Forces Bowl. The only thing they had to do the rest of the regular season was go out and try to beat Navy in the finale. And they still went out there and beat Duke, and Duke still came with a flat effort. And there's a certain significance of demoralization that comes with a team whose season is over at this point of the year, who's also on a long losing streak. So you have a Duke Blue Devils team on a 6-game losing streak, playing for nothing, season over, against the Georgia Tech team who needs to get that win this Saturday to cinch a bowl bid, because they're not likely to get it next week against the Georgia Bulldogs.
Okay, that makes sense, Matt. And we also got some guys asking, do you have anything in the NFL? And also, what's the biggest bet on the Philadelphia Eagles, if you want to answer those?
So I'm a little bit sour in the NFL because my super contest entry that was right there, right in contention, top 6, we crapped out last week. It was terrible. I'm still a little bit sour about it. Cleveland Browns are making me throw up in my mouth after last weekend. But there are a couple NFL games that I like this week, and my favorite game on the board, and it'll be in my super contest selection. I'll post my super contest picks on Saturday like I do every single week on my Twitter account, is the Baltimore Ravens. And the reason I like the Baltimore Ravens here is, starting with the quarterback position, Brett Hundley, similar to Marcus Mariota, is a quarterback that needs to be able to move the pocket, that needs to be able to use his feet to not only run, evade a pass rush, but to be able to move that pocket to complete passes. And like we saw with the Tennessee Titans when Marcus Mariota had a hamstring injury and was stuck staying in the pocket, including that game against the Cleveland Browns where the Tennessee Titans never scored a touchdown, is he was vastly ineffective without being able to run the football, without being able to run. That's the case here for Brett Hundley. He has a bad hamstring injury, yet he's still going to get the start. A lot of weapons hurt. Montgomery's still hurt. Their best offensive lineman, Brian Beluga, still out. And while the Baltimore injury report still looks bad, This is the most healthy the Baltimore Ravens have actually been for any game the entire NFL season 2017. I think Joe Flacco is going to be better. The receivers are more healthy. This is a bad spot for the Green Bay offense coming off the win. I like the Ravens on the road.
Ravens on the road. All right, Matty Holt. And we got guys asking for your Twitter handle.
At Matthew Holt VP.
At Matthew Holt VP. Hey, last one, guys. What about the 702 49ers? What ended up happening? How'd they do ATS-wise?
Oh, man. Did you see the tweets post about that last game? It was like the biggest disaster ever.
What happened?
So go into the semifinals of the playoff. Now, if we win the state playoffs, we have to go to Florida. We're in the semifinals of the state playoff. Our quarterback throws a pick six to start the game, so we're down 7-0. We score a touchdown, miss the extra point right before half, so it's 7-6. We come out and score a touchdown, miss the 2-point conversion, it's 12-7. And there's this referee that's just jobbing us all game long horribly. And look, I would never say 10U football game is rigged, but this guy, there was some issue there. So there's less than a minute left to go in the game, and it's 42 from the 35-yard line for the Gladiators, the team playing us. Get sacked. We sacked the quarterback. Game over, right? But instead, the referee, this is a quarterback sack on a 4th and 2 pass play. The referee takes the ball and says, forward momentum, first down. Suddenly, the 702 49er fans are coming out of the stands down to onto the field. While the fans are coming onto the field, the other team lines up and throws a touchdown pass because none of our defensive players are ready. They end up taking the lead 13-7. Field. There was an ugly, unfortunate altercation between a few slightly upset 702 49er parents and fans and the referees. The police may have been called. They called the game right there. Our season was over. It was a learning moment for the kids, right?
Damn. No, I got to go back and check out your Twitter. Do we have pictures or a video or anything?
It was quite the day. My phone died at halftime, thank God, because I would have hated to have had the video of what happened at the end of that game.
Oh, man. Dude, I got to go check this one out on your Twitter. But, yeah, no, Donnie, man, what else you got, man?
Yeah, no, never a dull moment there. The one game we all want to look at here, obviously 82% of the wagers coming in. I see CG Technology right now, Matt, you guys are holding a -4.5, 48.5 for that Sunday night football game. I expect probably a really big handle in that one. Two popular teams, obviously, on Sunday night football, very electric atmosphere. What are we looking at from your side there, Matt? You know, who's betting the Eagles? Who's betting Dallas? Are sharps coming in on Dallas? Are they waiting to pounce if that line gets to 5.5 or maybe outrageously hits 6 at this point? What can we anticipate from this one?
Well, here's the deal. So we are taking one-sided action on Philly at this point. They're our second biggest liability on the NFL Sunday slate at this point. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, we're at pretty high risk right now for Philadelphia, but the line already seems so high when you consider the fact that 6 weeks ago in our look-ahead, weeks 2 through 16 lines, it was Dallas -7. So now this line is already 11.5 points off from what it was 6 weeks ago. So I understand that we're a little low in the market at 4.5. There's plenty of 5s out there already. We already have big liability to Philly. But I keep waiting for that wave of Cowboys sharp buyback to come in. It just hasn't yet. And obviously, if you, again, anticipatory action, if you anticipate getting some sharp buyback, you never want to give away the best numbers. But I will say this, if we don't get some Cowboy money soon, we'll be joining the marketplace 5, 5.5, and hopefully not 6.
Interesting. One more again, I want to ask you, Matt, before we get you out of here. 471, 472, New England Patriots going on the road. Obviously, Oakland technically going on the road as well, playing in Mexico. Line opened up there around 50 in that range. Matt, I see you hanging a 54.5 and a -7. It seems like that money just keeps piling in from my ticket numbers. Look like overwhelming amount, you know, watching the New England Patriots at this point, looking to cover, getting that machine going here. What are you looking at from your perspective on your side of the counter there?
You know, and what's interesting here in this game is all I've heard all week is from the sharps is, look, there's no team better prepared right now to play in the altitude than New England Patriots. They went and prepared early for Denver. They stayed in Colorado at altitude after Denver. Then they flew down to Mexico City. They're used to the altitude. And then all of a sudden, the last 24 hours, we're seeing sharp money coming back on the other side here finally. Because to your point, it was a one-sided tidal wave of New England Patriots action all week long. But the last 24 hours, without having to give up a 7.5 at any point, the Oakland Raiders sharp money has showed up. And I think this one's probably going to stick at 7 now.
There we go. Always a lot of fun, Matt. Always appreciate you hanging out with us. About 20 minutes on the show. We really appreciate it there, folks. Again, if you're going to follow on Twitter, Matt's a great Twitter follow there at Matthew Holt VP, CJ Technologies finest, as we like to say. Always good friend, the sportsbookreview.com, Matt. Thanks once again for coming on the show and letting us in where that money's going this weekend, buddy.
Thanks, Donnie. Thanks, Drew. Best of luck this weekend, guys. Take care.
See ya.
All right, Matty. Thanks.
Drew, you did very well there. Have you ever done this before, interviewing people and being on camera? Have you done this?
No, man, I really haven't. But no, thanks for letting me ask him a couple questions, man. That was fun.
A lot of fun. It's always good having him on the show here. Got a couple minutes left here on the card. I guess we can go, open up maybe to the chat box and see what's going on there. But, maybe NFL, we can flip over that ticket. There should be some interesting games on Sunday. Again, there is a little bit of weather in a few of these. New York Giants game going to have maybe 15, maximum 20-mile-an-hour gusts in that game with Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs traveling to the Giants. It's going to be interesting, to say the least, in this one, because I was burned last week like an idiot taking, the Giants and, you know what? Sometimes even if a team did quit, Drew, like you say, you know what? I don't feel like playing, but we're so much better talent-wise than this other football team. It really didn't measure up on Sunday versus that talentless 49ers team that eviscerated the Giants right off of the map in the second half. And now they're talking about, same thing we've been saying all week long, like, hey, man, Giants going to have pride. Ben McAdoo asking, saying that the leak today was he's been pulling guys aside one-on-one so they can work out their differences and get back on the field. They're done. Football players look at, you don't want to get injured right now. Hey, coach, you ain't here next year. GM's not here next year. I'm just trying to make this bread right here and still survive into next year. So you're going to ask me to bust it, or maybe, a runaway freight train is coming up the middle. And do I want to stick my head in there and possibly get a concussion or injured or bang up my shoulder, which might be already banged up? No, you're going to let the guy run wild for 60 yards right up the middle. And I question that about the Giants. It's a lot of points, though, double-digit road favorite. But if you're backing the Giants, other than you just being a contrarian, I don't see it, Drew.
Yeah, I don't either, man. And who's going to be playing quarterback? Do we know that?
What, Eli over there?
Yeah.
Eli will be out there. But, yeah, you hear all the rumblings there, too, saying, hey, maybe you don't want to get Eli hurt at the end of the year because he's good trade bait in the offseason. We can find our franchise quarterback next year. Wellington Mara, who obviously, I don't know. Hey, scouts, get ready. Let's try to find a younger quarterback. No, I don't even want to curse at this point, but I mean, are we serious there in the Meadowlands? So who knows? Like, we want to find out. We just drafted a quarterback in the 3rd round. So now you want to go out and draft another quarterback in the top 5? Sometimes these NFL teams, man, really make me laugh with how bogus their front office seems to me.
Yeah, really. I mean, I don't know. I think the New York Giants are kind of untouchable, but you bring up the point, it's as high as 11.5 right now at 5 dimes. So, I mean, laying double digits in the NFL, I don't bet it nearly as much as you do. You know it a lot better than me, Donnie, but I don't think that's a winning proposition over the last 5 or say 10 years, is it?
No, it's usually no. Like, and again, the old adage goes, like, double digits on the road will get you killed. Well, this is a situation again, but there are extenuating circumstances. We're looking at this like game 3, and maybe the Giants just have a little bit of hard luck. Because I took the Giants on the road early in the season against Tampa Bay. They ended up losing the football game, but covering the all-important line. I've taken the Giants in a couple instances this year already, but there comes a point where it's hard to cap, what's inside the team, because this team is really injured and really checked out. And I just think Andy Reid in Kansas City is going to come in here, and Kelsey's just going to run wild. They have no line. They're literally pulling guys off the street to play linebacker at this point. That doesn't bode well. And again, Janoris Jenkins, he quit. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out and ultra sabotages this game like he did the last week as well. So, I mean, a quitting team is really hard to bet on, even though you say, hey, man, still Eli Manning. Maybe he can salvage something and they can hang around. But a team that quits is a team that I certainly don't want to back at this point here.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, man. Do you have any opinion on the Atlanta-Seattle game Monday night?
I think it's a decent game. I think it's a decent spot. It's hard to beat Seattle in Seattle. We all know that. Doesn't look like the weather's going to be too bad. No rain really in the forecast from what the updates I was looking at today. Real light, windy conditions. But, some late breaking news. I mean, Seattle played that game on Thursday versus Arizona. Didn't look all of that great. Got the cover on a blocked extra kick. Or extra point, excuse me. But now you have Richard Sherman down. He's not going to be in the football game. Cam Chancellor's not playing in this football game. Earl Thomas, your all-world safety. one extra bad stretch away. Hey, I got to run sideline to sideline. I really didn't open it up because my hamstring injury. Now I just got hurt on that. You have Michael Bennett hitting the report as well. Dwayne Brown, the left tackle, he's possibly not going to play in this football game. And you almost see the same MO that you saw last week, Drew, when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, the way Atlanta attacked them. A weakness at left tackle, which you will have again here for the Seattle Seahawks with Dwayne Brown possibly not playing. They're going to come at you with speed against a fast rushing quarterback, same way Dak Prescott, same way Russell Wilson. It's almost like, Drew, they can just use the same game plan week to week here and really get it, grinding to a halt. Also, Quinn, who knows that Seattle personnel better than anybody, not a bunch of massive changes over there with Pete Carroll and how he likes to run his system. So that's another adage. And also, if you take a look at last year, Atlanta goes up on the road and loses 26-24 on that awful pass interference non-call on Richard Sherman. The one guy that you would want back there, right, is a really, really healthy Cam Chancellor and a really healthy Richard Sherman to try to quell Julio Jones out there. He's going to be able to run wild in this football game. And the Legion of Boom, that whole defense is built on that secondary. And you're going to have two of them already out for the football game with one hobbled with a hamstring. It doesn't look good here for Seattle. I mean, that normal Seattle team, we say, you know what? We're going to grind you down. We're going to play lockdown defense out here. The crowd's going to get involved. That Legion of Boom is no more.
Yeah, I just find this game really interesting. I think Atlanta is an interesting case study in general. I mean, they went on that terrible run where they lost to the Dolphins as 14-point favorites. But just last week against Dallas, you brought that up, and that left tackle situation against the defensive end, it's arguably, outside of the quarterback position, which it affects, the most important matchup on the field. So if they're able to kind of, take advantage of that matchup, I could see them, going in there and getting the W. It is a tough place to play. I guess Julio Jones also up to probable now. That will help. I mean, just going forward with the Falcons, do you have them more of a bet on or bet against? I know you know this better than me, Donnie.
I mean, heading down the stretch, they're going to play better than what they have in the past. That was a key game, beating Dallas. And again, I'll say it again in the live chat box, Dallas is out of the playoffs. So that was a playoff game last week between those two. The loser of that football game would have been eliminated from the playoff race in the NFC. Dallas is now out of the playoffs. And now Atlanta's getting that, saying, you know what? Let's keep this charge going. We're heading up to Seattle. This almost feels like one of those elimination games because you take another loss for Seattle and you're still going to have, the Rams on deck. You get the Eagles coming to town. They can't lose this football either. This is going to be the height of a playoff atmosphere for both of these teams. Absolutely must win. But Atlanta, even with Devontae Freeman out of the football game, you do have a capable backup. And I think overall, the Atlanta Falcons are a better football team just because of the fact they're more healthy at key positions here.
Yeah. Do you think they will make the playoffs?
Who?
Atlanta Falcons, minus 110.
Yeah, to be honest with you, if Atlanta loses this football game, I don't think they get in the playoffs. And I think they're playing each and every week like that, where you can't afford to slip up because that race is so tightly packed in the NFC that any one of these teams, again, these are essentially playoff games because if you beat that team, it's essentially a 2-game advantage on the team you just beat. Because if you end up tied at the end of the season, Drew, what do they look at? Head-to-head matchup. Which is why, Atlanta's going to be fighting for that last playoff spot. Now you essentially have a 2-game lead on the Dallas Cowboys, and the Eagles can finish them off on Sunday night, which I fully anticipate them doing. But this one also a playoff-type atmosphere. Neither one of these teams can afford to lose. They might be on the outside looking in as well.
Yeah, man, this is a really important game that it's worth 2 games to these two teams, like you just brought up. So, yeah, I'm going to be watching them closely, man.
Now, a lot of fun there. Running out of time here on the closing line for Friday, November 17th, 2017. Always like to go over some picks and maybe give out some advice, in the game that pertains to tonight, Drew. Not a lot to look forward to me in the 2 college games here. Again, I'm not betting college basketball or the NBA, but again, I gave it out earlier today. Just a slight lean, folks, on the over in that Western Kentucky Middle Tennessee State game. Now looks like it's sitting around 56. Bet online, it's 57.5, so a little bit higher than everybody else. I'll still lean on that as well, Drew. I'll give a slight nod to the over in that Middle Tennessee State game. Digging on anything tonight, one of those 2 football games, Drew?
I like UNLV. I'd like to get a +3 here. It went from pick'em to +2.5. I'm not seeing any 3s, so I'd like to wait this out. If you're in front of a computer all night, I would recommend waiting for the 3, which I'm doing. So yeah, I'll go on record with UNLV tonight.
All right, you'll go UNLV tonight. I'll go on the over. This has been the closing line, the final closing line. Fantastic. I mean, we've been doing the show since maybe first week of September, so a little bit of a run. Now I get to sit back in the cut, the big man, 10 a.m., the morning show, nice hour long. Going to talk a lot of stuff, what happened the night before, focus on a lot. We'll still be breaking down some games there, but more of a sports overall lifestyle. We're going to have some fun. You wake up, you crack open the laptop. You're not ready for an intense, You know how you open up the laptop, you just turn the TV on in the morning in Sports Center. You don't want to hit any a hard rock station. Like, damn, I'm just waking up. We're going to ease you into your betting day every day, Monday through Friday. It's going to be a lot of fun. So hopefully you tune in on Monday. But hey, afternoons are now mine. Can get back to capping, putting out these random videos here, doing a lot of other stuff with Sportsbook Review as well. But it's been a fun run on the closing line, Drew, and you've been here with me every single Friday. Had a lot of fun doing, Peter Loshak, Big Man on Campus on Tuesday, Teddy on Thursdays, Wednesdays with Ian Cameron. It's been a lot of fun there, but bigger and better things on the horizon. You saw Mike and Mike sign off today on their final show. So me and the Big Man starting a new chapter, Waking Up with me and the Big Man with the right side of campus, the morning edition. So should be a lot of fun, but thanks for tuning in, Drew. Thanks for being a part of the show tonight. Folks, check out SBRodds.com. Also follow us on Twitter at SBR Sports Picks, and also right here in the chat box on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Get those alerts every single time we go live for November 17th, 2017. This has been the closing line, folks. Enjoy. Catch some tickets.